It's that time of year again for house hunting. Our political affairs reporter, Johanna Moonan, has a segment about everything you need to know in looking for a house, roommates, and questions to ask your landlord. So, very informational stuff. Stay tuned.
I'm Johanna Moonan, political affairs reporter for Big Purple Couch. It's that time of year again. Students are looking for a new living situation, and Big Purple Couch is bringing you everything you need to know about what to look for in a lease and how to choose lasting roommates. We're talking off-campus housing and hitting the streets to see what you have to say. What kind of things should students look for in a good lease?
Typically it will state the basics, dates and location and rent amount and stuff like that. But a big one in the lease is what has the landlord promised to do in way of repairs or things like that. So if the landlord says, I'll promise to replace the carpet, I'll paint the place or whatever, you need to get that in writing. And typically we encourage students to get landlords to put changing the locks, because students going into a place don't know if copies of keys have been made and given out to friends, and sometimes we've had situations where past tenants have walked in on a house and ripped it off because they've had copies of keys. So we encourage to get that written in, things like that.
Right now I live at Sarnia and Western Road, but I'd prefer to live on the Richmond side, I think. So we're closer to all the entertainment and the bars.
Right, and you?
I live on the Richmond side. I live on Mayfair, which is just a couple streets down from University, and it's the best spot to live because you're a bus ride away from the bars and close to campus.
And what do you think students should look for in a good landlord?
The best thing, the absolute best thing a student can do with a landlord is to talk to the current tenants when the landlord's not there. So ask the current tenants, if the utilities are not included, what are the actual utility bills? Because lots of times landlords will underestimate them. What's the landlord like for getting repairs done? Are they responsive to needs and stuff like that? And current tenants can give a heads up to what the place is like to live in, right? If there are any basement rooms, you want to make sure, any basement bedrooms, you want to make sure they're dry and don't suffer from any kind of floods. But the big one is to ask the current tenants whether the landlord's good for doing repairs, etc.
I live on Huron, and I like it because it's close to campus, so I can walk, and it's also pretty close to downtown. I can take the bus.
Okay. And you?
I live on Trot Drive, which is right behind the Perth residence, and I loved it. I've lived there for 3 years. We have a fantastic house. We have access to 2 bus stops right by Cherry Hill Mall, so it's close to the grocery store. We have no complaints.
So do you mind if I ask you a little personal question?
Sure.
Use your mediation services. So when I moved into my house at the beginning of the year, I was I got mail from Hydro basically saying that I have a $3,000 bill, and really the only way I could get amenities in my house was to pay the bill. So I tried to put it off for about a month. Is there anything that I could have done beforehand to protect myself from unusual bill amounts, or anything I can do at this time?
Because bills between a landlord and a utility are private. You wouldn't be able to necessarily have access to that. But the city has a process where you can call the city. If utilities are going to be cut off, you can call the city. The city can pay the bill and have the amount tacked on to the landlord's taxes. So you don't end up having to pay it. The bill gets taken care of and you can get your utilities.
I wish I knew that at the time. So off-campus housing, do they have any services that you will look over a lease for future tenants?
Yeah, we don't go out and actually find the places. We have a listing service where we put hundreds and hundreds, and not thousands of listings for students to go and self-search. But if students want to come in and have a lease looked over with regards to what are the obvious things to be aware of, or if they want to come in and say, how should I approach my search process, we can help them and coach them on those kinds of things.
And where can students go to get more information on off-campus housing?
Obviously, our website off UWO, but they can also come to room 102 Elgin Hall.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure you'll be a very busy man over the next couple weeks. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So what advice would you give to first years who are just looking for a house? Any advice you can offer?
Richmond side for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, where I live.
Do it as soon as possible. We're all the best places. Lots of And have you had any issues with housing in the past, and if so, what were those?
I've moved 3 times in 3 years. The first year, one of our basement bedrooms didn't have a window, so it was a fire hazard. So we were evicted basically from that house. Second year, we had heating issues and we just didn't really like the house, and then we finally moved again, and this year we really like our house.
Here are a few things to keep in mind before signing a lease. Do you need insurance coverage for break-ins or damage? Who is responsible for maintaining the exterior property, such as snow removal and lawn cutting? You can also get an idea of what amenities will cost by asking for expenses from the previous year. Are utilities included in the lease? Talk to the current tenants to see how reliable your landlord will be. Remember, over 50% of all rental listings are placed on Western's off-campus housing service website after March. Off-campus housing has a ton of services that are here for you to use. I know I wish I used them. If you have any other questions, visit offcampus.uwo.ca. I'm Johanna Moonan for BBC. Happy house hunting.